Today's video, we're going to talk about Google Ads account audits. The first things that you should check, that I check on every single campaign I look at or account I look at, client or advertising firm wants us to look at. I've looked over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Google Ads accounts in the last 10 years. These are all things that you should check first that I found are the most important things to check. And this could be simply because you're trying to audit the agency that is doing work for you, trying to figure out if they're screwing you over or not, or just simply how good are you as a clueless business owner this is the first account that you've ever worked on. In both cases, I will tell you exactly how to tell and rate yourself or the agency that's working for you, or employee that's working for you, or consultant that's working for you, so you know whether to do anything about what you're doing. I get people all the time at our agency that come to me and say, hey Corey, I don't know if this agency is doing well for me. And basically, a lot of times I just have to tell you right up front, you aren't even given that agency long enough time to actually get any results. If you have been giving them 60 days and you're thinking that they're screwing you over, maybe if you've gotten 0 sales and 0 phone calls, they might be screwing you over. But for the most part, it's like, Corey, I only got a 200% ROI and it's been 60 days. If it were that easy to get a 1,000% ROI in 60 days, everybody would be rich. Everybody would set up their little website like yours, set up the website, make money, outsource all the delivery of whatever you're doing, and then they live on a beach somewhere. It's not that easy, at least if you're doing something that has competition. Of course, if you're the first guy who invented a realistic sex doll and everybody in the planet wants one, you throw up a Google ad, you're going to make money instantly, okay? That's not what I'm talking about. 99% of you guys don't have that convenience. Or something that's clearly at least 10 times better than the competition, then you could throw something up and be profitable in a month. So with that said, you have to give it time. But with that said, if you're realistic on time frames and all this will tell you beyond that what you should be doing. Now, I run Guaranteed PPC. We have dozens of advertising accounts that we manage at our agency, managed hundreds of accounts over the last 10 years. We're the only agency on the planet that offers any kind of guaranteed results for our clients. That is more profits before you pay. Literally, no profits before you pay. And I'm the one doing the strategy on all the accounts, so I, therefore, am giving you really valid information on this video here today. I'm going to go through what these 5 things are that I checked for, and then by the end of the video, you're going to have everything that you need to understand whether you're being screwed or not, either by Google, yourself, the agency you're working for, or whatnot, or what have you. And if you watch the end of the video, I also will give you some frame of reference also, what you should be able to put together for your account in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, how profitable Google Ads can be if you actually understand the stuff I'm talking about here. Hit just right on each one of these points and actually get your act together and have your stuff working, or just wait a little bit longer because your stuff's all in order. So with that said, the first thing to mention here is the search terms report, okay? Very first thing that I look at on an account when somebody says, Corey, I don't know if my account's set up very well. What can you do in terms of a guaranteed result for our agency? What can you guarantee up front? I'm going to look at the search terms report to see how much junk that client's paying for. I jump up and down for joy when I open up the search terms report and I see 75% of the searches are showing up for people looking for information, people looking for a competitor, people looking for a lot of times just for prices. Some industries that work, sometimes it doesn't. But those are the main things right there. And people will run stupid ass broad match in their account because their agency convinced them that was the best thing to do. And they're spending 75% of their money on waste. Okay, yes, eventually broad match will be profitable after pissing away tens of thousands of dollars on wasted searches that you shouldn't show up for, and you will. Particularly when you use dynamic keyword insertion on your ads. The hallmark of the dumbest agencies on the planet are going to be broad match with dynamic keyword insertion on the ad so that they don't have to do almost anything on the account and just collect their management fee. And when you're charging 10% of ad spend and you got an account that spends $500 a month and they're getting paid $50 a month, I know why they do it. Because they can't do any work for $50 a month. They're doing the absolutely bare minimum to get your money because they have to, okay? In order to get good results in an account and someone to seriously take it serious as if they want to keep you long term, you're gonna have to pay them at least $1,000 a month anymore in 2024 and beyond. You may not like to hear that, you may not want to believe that, that's the reality. I can tell you from my side, The economics of the business doesn't work doing a good job for less money than that if you have anyone halfway competent working on your shit. With the search terms report, going back to that, you should be able to go to all campaigns, search terms report, see what the ads are showing up for. That is if you're running search ads. This obviously doesn't apply to you if you're running YouTube and whatnot, but for the most of you guys, we're running search ads, and you should see 95% of the searches you show up for on point. And if you don't, and you go into the change history and you see the person working for yourself is not adding negative keywords in the last 90 days, well, then you're getting handed to you and you're being played for a fool. You need to get that cleaned up first and foremost. Second of all on this list, to audit your account, you need your tracking. I don't know why still to this day, people having not got the picture that these ad systems run off an algorithm. It's not just, here, Google, I want to show up for these 10 keywords and I'm good. And I'm willing to spend $300 a month to do it and I'm done. That is the most untrue thing that you could possibly say about doing Google ads. It's all very, 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 very gray nowadays. If you target the keyword red shoes, Google's going to say, okay, you're targeting the keyword red shoes. There's 5,000 different people who search for the keyword red shoes. There's old, there's young, there's rich, there's poor, there's guys from Texas, there's women from, Dallas. And with no tracking, they don't know which portion of that keyword traffic to send you. Should it be 10%, 20, 30, 50, 100%? If they don't know what worked for you, they cannot refine your traffic. And in a competitive market, the guys that you see afford to spend month after month tens of thousands of dollars, they've already invested tens of thousands of dollars in their ads with the tracking set up to acquire enough data to find out this 10% of this keyword's profitable, the other 90% is not, 20% of this keyword's profitable, the other 80% is not, and they know it, and the new guy coming in don't know it, and he expects the world right up front that it should just be like a light switch. Oh, it should work right away. Oh, Google Ads is a scam. Oh, turn it off again. And that's what 90% of people that you see coming in and out of Google Ads is going to do, and why they fail, mostly, and they spend 10 minutes setting up their ads with no tracking, and they end up, it's completely pointless to do that in a competitive market. It's too hard. It takes too much work. It's a contest between you and the competition. Who has the better ad? Who has the better landing page? Do you think the guy spending millions spent 10 minutes on his ads, and that's what got him to where he's at today? And if so, why isn't somebody else who spent 20 minutes on their ads now taking the cake? A lot of people don't want to think rationally and logically about this stuff because they want what they want, which is they want it easy, they want it now. Anything worth anything in life isn't like that. What else in life is easy and quick that's worth anything? Almost nothing, basically nothing. Going back to the topic at hand with the tracking, you got to be able to track what matters. If you're generating leads, you got to know when a lead comes in, phone calls, form fills, live chats, and ideally, when it's one of those leads that's either marked qualified or turns into a sale, if it typically turns into a sale fairly quickly. And then importing that into your account so the algorithm that decides what portion of what keyword should get the traffic, or if you're doing even YouTube or display campaigns, what portion of the placements that you're getting is profitable and which ones are not. Or if you're doing e-commerce, you're absolutely bare minimum tracking cart sales. And if more than 10% of the sales are occurring through the phone, that is, you take a credit card over the phone, you need to track those sales, get it back into your account, because the bigger sales are not going to be going through the cart statistically. And then all your account's going to do is optimize for the smaller customers. Okay? So you cannot complain that you're not making millions of dollars with your ads until you get your tracking on point. That's the bare minimum to make it work. And yes, it's difficult, and yes, it's hard. Anybody can set it up right if you hire the right person. Don't rely on Google to set it up for you. Don't rely on Fiverr people to set it up for you. Go ahead and get it set up right. Spend a couple grand on an analytics firm to set up your basic goals. Why? Because that's the bare minimum that it takes to get it right. And I can tell you from personal experience, the average client's going to try to set it up several times and fail because they're going to try to think it's easy and that it's cheap, and it should be cheap, and it's not. You need somebody who set up hundreds of tracking installations in order to get it right every single time the first try. Don't waste any time with it. Just get it done right the first time because you need it. And the more time you waste, the more money you're losing when, basically it takes longer to get to the millions where you're making tens of thousands a month down the line. It'll just take longer to get there. I'm going to check the tracking, make sure the tracking works. And when I say check it, literally call the phone numbers, fill out all the forms on the site, put a test purchase through, all of this. And make sure it shows up in the Google Ads account within 24 hours. We actually set up a test campaign that and target a keyword we're not targeting with the rest of our campaign, so we can trigger our own ad, click through it, go through and trigger all the goals, make sure they all show up under that campaign. Then we're actually satisfied that it actually works. And until then, we're not satisfied, and we're not actually just doing it once like the typical person's going to do. We're doing it every 30 days to make sure it stays working, because this stuff often breaks. Whether you want to believe it or not, it does. Furthermore, we're going to set up backup goals so that when a goal intermittently breaks, which this also happens all the time at our firm and people don't realize this or want to believe it, a purchase tracking goal can be 70% effective, and you won't know it unless you have a backup goal that you mark secondary to compare the data to, so that you can see if your primary goal that steers all of your ads and gets you all the results is working or not. That's the other little small tip that I could give you. So you check your tracking. Then you're going to have to check your CTR. Okay? Why is this third down the list? And these are all things in terms of chronological or in order what you should check things, by the way, and what you audit your account. The reason why this is third in the list here is because if a lot of people will say, "Haha, Corey, I got a 25% click-through rate." What do you mean you can help me and say you got 10% click-through rates? I got even more than that already. And the reality is, you look at their search terms report, and they got all this in their search terms report that they're spending their ad copy or spending their ad money on. And if they did only showed up for what they're supposed to, they'd get a 5% click-through rate. Totally different picture there that in terms of what's quality of what you're doing and what's to be told there. If you aren't showing up for the right things, you got to get that fixed. Then you look at your click-through rate. The average click-through rate is going to be about 4%. However, the real story behind that is each industry is going to have a different industry average click-through rate. You can Google yours. What's average industry click-through rate in the travel industry, whatever. And like in the travel space, it'll be more like 10%. Why? It's a more commercial nature niche where a higher percentage of the people actually just want to buy something right away, at least right away. So you want to check that out. And your goal isn't to just show up and do the average. Why? I can tell you from experience, anymore, 10 to 20% of the people advertising are going to make 80% of the money. You either get on Google's good side to where they want to send all the best traffic to you, because they can kind of see before the person even searches what that person's statistical likelihood to convert into a customer is. And if you want them to send that guy to you, then you need to be showing them you have a better ad and a better landing page than the competition. So it's not just about showing up and what's it take to do well. What's it going to take to crush my competitors if you go in with that mentality, you cannot lose, because you're going to try to do more than what the leading guy is doing. And even if you get half of the results, you're still going to be able to make money because you're the leading guy in terms of the ad click-through rate in your market. And to go along with it, the conversion rate, which indicates if you've got a good landing page to take them to, or a website. If you're doing like an e-commerce site, you're not necessarily taking them to dedicated landing pages, which that's the other thing you're going to check for. And obviously, conversion rate also is different. If you're a local service company, it could be a good conversion rate could be 15% or it could be 60%. If you're in towing, you damn well better be able to get a 60% conversion rate, because when somebody searches for towing, they're pretty committed to hire somebody right now. If you're talking about crime scene cleanup, which we've got several clients in that industry, 15% is pretty good. Why? Because not every single person's totally committed to calling, and to the point where, like, if they don't call, you entirely something bad. Okay? So it's all relative. In e-commerce, you're talking about anywhere from 0.25% to 10% conversion rates, depending on the price of what you sell is. And, the nature of the item. If it's a new category, people are going to buy less of it because they're going to come to the Google search less committed to buy. If you're selling $100,000 model homes or manufactured homes, your conversion rate's going to be like 0.25%, if you will. If you're selling $5 stickers for the wall, we've had where we could get 10% conversion rate. So more so than anything, the price dictates what your conversion rate is going to be, because the bigger the decision, the less people you're going to get to commit to making a decision at all, and the less people that will actually buy. When people are looking for manufactured homes, there's just, out of the people searching, there's less people buying. The person that's searching for a $10 sticker, a much higher percentage of those people searching are going to buy. It's not just, getting it versus the competitor at that point in time. If you're talking about like a manufactured home prospect, it's, of the small percentage who actually are serious, what can we get? And even when you do it completely right and you beat all your competitors, you still only get 0.25%. So that is all kind of relative as well. You can obviously also go to Google and say average industry conversion rates for XYZ industry and get some information. And then again, your goal should be not to do that, but at least go for double it. And if you don't know, because it's too generic of a niche, you could just leave me a comment below, by the way. And I will tell you, because I've worked on and personally worked on hundreds and hundreds of different niches now, of which, by the way, if we worked in your niche, you could save yourself a huge amount of work to just take the template that works for your industry. Like literally speaking, we could sell you, like if you're in plumbing, for instance, we could send you the winning ads, landing pages, campaign templates, all of it to copy paste into your account and get the same cost per lead we're getting in a different geographic market than you're in. So at the very least, you should find out if we've worked in your space before, because why do all the work and all the money and spend all the money we had to spend to figure out how to get to that cost per lead when you're going to spend even more than that than what we sell for the template for to figure it all out for yourself. And with that said, by the way, if we're not in your industry, we can also, at least when you contact me at my firm at Guaranteed PPC, you can actually find out what kind of guaranteed results we could provide you if we would have to build a campaign from scratch. And you may just say, well, hey, you're going to promise to get me to profitability anyway. I'll just pay you. And since you're not taking a fee until we hit this minimum profitability number, it's worth paying you anyway. And whatever you're charging is offset by what I'm making up front. That's our signature offer at the firm. So you can definitely inquire about that as well. But getting back to the topic at hand here, you want to know what conversion rate to go for so you know how to shoot to go for twice that number so you can't go wrong at the end of the day if you hit that number in terms of you being able to make tons of money with Google Ads, probably millions if you have any kind of reasonable search volume in your space or demand in your space for what you do. You can leave me a comment in the comment section and I'll tell you. With that said, the other thing when you do an audit, the simple 5-step audit plan, the other thing to mention here would be the account structure. I'm going to do this one last, mainly because this other stuff is more important. If you got an account structure, yet you're getting conversion rates that are above average, I have no room to complain about. I have no room to complain about your account structure. It's getting the job done. It's just like saying you're in a powerlifting contest and you have a huge gut, but you can lift still more weight than anybody else. That huge gut is irrelevant. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The account structure you have doesn't matter if it's getting you results. However, that said, it's still, generally speaking, we'll just say if you're not getting results, it's much better to get that structure in line mainly because different keyword sets, different audiences, different strategies will have different levels of potential ROI you can get and expect. And therefore, with that, I want to be able to optimize each separately. Like for instance, a lot of times we'll target people outside the country. We'll have different campaigns for each country. Why? Because each country will convert at a little bit different rate based upon user behaviors in that market. And so if you group everything in with one campaign, then it's harder to control your investment at that point in time, right? One campaign can really hinder the other. Granted, if you're using smart bidding, the algorithms are smart enough to pretty much work through that. But still, you'll get to the end goal faster by having the US, slam US by itself, and then slam Canada by itself, and because each one's it's going to come around at a different rate for each one. You'll get to the end result that you want quicker, and a much higher control of your budget. That's one thing. The other thing is if we're still talking about search ads, is single keyword ad groups. If you watched this channel before, you've heard me harp on how much better these are than the typical bro advice that you hear on this channel of just use broad match, bro, with smart bidding, bro, and you'll get all the results that I do. And that's what Google's telling people to do. That's what people are regurgitating. Google's there to make Google money, not to make you money, make them money. They're a corporation by law. Corporate bylaws say they have to. So it's like going to the IRS for tax advice. Why would you be so dumb to do that? Don't go to Google for advice on how to run your campaign. And whatever they're saying, if somebody else is just regurgitating it, they're immediately suspect, by the way, because I could tell you everything Google says isn't the best way to do it. There's some stuff, yes, that they say is good, but all of it, absolutely not, okay? So single keyword ad groups, going back to what I was saying, you have a good ad that matches the way that people are searching and it's laser targeted for that user's needs. You cannot tell me that's not the best option to go with a generic ad. You do not want to see an ad that says socks for sale if you are looking for brown business socks. You can't, I don't care what you do to justify saying that general ad is the best way to go with how well Google's machine learning works. Doesn't matter. People want to see what they want. You either give it to them or you don't. Get a custom ad for every search, take them and hand pick the perfect page on your site to send them to, or create one. That's always going to be the way. I don't care if it's 2047. That's human psychology is not going to change, and that's how you run things. My main counter argument that I've heard against this, if there was one, is, oh, Corey, but the keyword matching, based upon how it works, you can't really show up for single keywords anymore. You can run exact match. You can run a negative keyword silo matching strategy where if you're targeting big red shoes and red shoes, you can add the word big as a negative keyword at an ad group level to the ad group that targets red shoes, and pretty well silo out what search should go to what. And not only that, but Google's algorithm's just going for the highest click-through rate it can. And once it realizes this search should really go with this ad, they're going to run this ad with this search from now on. And so in the beginning, it's not going to be a clear matchup exactly what you want to show up, for an ad, what may not show up exactly for what you want in terms of a search, but it will eventually come to that conclusion. And what you've set up will work essentially like what you want it to work. That is, this search, this ad always shows up for this search, this ad always shows up for this search. So anyway, in terms of account structure, I'm going to be looking at that kind of stuff. When we're talking about display ads or YouTube ads, I'm going to be looking at, do you target everything in YouTube campaign, which is target different audiences. If you're targeting a competitor audience, I'm going to have an ad just to say how much that competitor, and have its own campaign structure just for that. If you're targeting people who are reviewing the competitor's product, I'm going to target that separately because it's going to convert differently than somebody who's just watching my competitor's channel as a whole. I could go on here, but you get the general idea. Each one's going to convert a little bit differently, so you should segment them out. Not only that, but like the single keyword ad group search model, like I just mentioned with search ads, you want different video ads based upon what the user's needs are. So it's the same way there. Same thing if you're talking about display ads or if you're talking about demand gen campaigns, it's all the same. So are you sophisticated in your structure so you can have different targeting methods or in different campaigns, and you have different ad copy based upon what you know about the user and how you're targeting them. Because that's going to get the most results. So if you don't have the results, it's really easy to get more results just by sub-segmenting what you're doing more, because you can get a higher click-through rate with a more relevant ad for who you're targeting based upon what you know about that user you're targeting. And so if you're at a 400% ROI and you need to get to 800, and you've got one campaign for everything, just sub-segment everything and you can easily get to 800. It's really that simple at the end of the day if that's what you're talking about here. So anyway, with that said, okay, there's a lot more details to what I just mentioned, which if you're trying to get the inner workings and details about sub-segmenting campaigns, you should subscribe to this channel and watch the videos that I have, because there's no other channel that I know of that explains it better, that comes from somebody who actually runs campaigns, dozens of them on an ongoing basis. You got a lot of people selling courses on YouTube that run a campaign or two. They ain't spending hardly any time running campaigns, no campaigns at all, or they own an agency and they don't actually get their hands dirty. You need somebody who spends 40 hours a week doing ad testing and ad strategy by itself to have the best knowledge, best data, best information about what works and what doesn't work. And this is exactly what I do at my agency. And I spend literally my weekends just doing the content to share what I learned 40 hours a week during my main day job, if you will, at our agency. So you can't get any better information than this. So you should, if you want to know how to actually structure it for the most results, subscribe to this channel. You can also check out my blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog. Whereas if you like the channel, you're going to like the blog even more because it has step-by-step advice to take strategies that we're using to guarantee clients results, to literally copy paste and bolt those on to your own accounts and get the same results we're relying on and that are go-tos for our clients to get guaranteed results there, and how we are able to actually do it. You can get them for yourself. So with that said, okay, that is the 5-step audit plan that I'm going to go through. And so if you were thinking that a 1% PPC guru that audits your account is going to go get super technical with everything, generally speaking, you can, but this alone will accomplish so much. And that is really the basics. If you show up for the right person so that you can have a highly tailored ad for every person that you're targeting, and as a result of that, get higher than average click-through rates and higher than average conversion rates, you've already completed 90% of the job. Then all of it, the rest of it is just kind of like semantics, if you will. That is, oh yeah, you get rid of this keyword and keep this one, and ultimately this age group doesn't work and this one does. But that's all just small details at that point. They're just small details in the grand scheme of things. So with all that said, I pretty much spelled out everything I can tell you about the audit, at least the way that we do it. This is the honest, genuine way. If you do all this, if you were violating all these different things and you go ahead and get all these things into place, you could literally go from 100% ROAS on your campaign or 100% ROI to 1,000%. You literally can walk it up 10x if you were not following the rules that I just said and just follow those simple rules. You can take a cost per lead that's at $500 a lead and walk it down to 100, just with the simple information I gave you here, and so that you don't have your ad showing up for the wrong things, and you don't have your tracking not working, you don't have average click-through rates and conversion rates, and you don't have everything stuffed into one damn campaign. And if you wanted to go a bit further here, you don't have generic ads, like I said, for every user. And if you're running display campaigns, it doesn't show up for random ass people. Sometimes that's okay. A lot of you guys' cases, that's not okay. But anyway, I mentioned that if you watch to the end of the video, you would get to know like what kind of results you can expect if you do this stuff. That's a really honest answer to what I just shared with you here. So, and the reason for that all this works is because the golden rule, like I said, that you're always going for, that is you're trying to beat all your competition in terms of click-through rate on your ad and conversion rate on your landing page. If you do all this stuff, you're gonna beat them all, and then you've accomplished the mission. You're gonna make the millions of dollars that are available in your niche by being that top player. Yes, it's a lot of work to get done initially, but it'll just work and work out. It'll keep working and working and working after that. Not only that, but it'll keep getting more profitable, because once you're over the baseline of profitability with your campaigns, the data tells you how to run your ads more and more efficiently over time, as well as finds more ways to scale it. And you're literally just home free. Where people get really hung up is they say, well, it's not working yet, so I want to stop the bleeding, which is a dumb way to think about it, because if you just stuck with it a little bit longer and hit baseline profitability and then optimized it for a couple of years after, you'd be making 50 grand a month in profit, literally speaking. And you're going to stop because you're tired of losing a couple grand a month now? Really, really short-sighted to think that way. And this is why 90% of people don't make money with Google Ads, because they just think it's like a switch. They're going to flip it on. Google should just deliver what they want right away. And if they don't, they're a scam. If you don't want to be in the 90%, don't think that way. Think instead, like, if I do not get this campaign profitable, the government's going to come behead me. If you think that way and go along with that, use the philosophy with the checklist I gave you here to audit your campaigns, make sure you're not falling for these main things that everybody falls for, basically, which is why I check for these, you're not going to not make money with your ads. So, assuming you obviously sell something that's competitive in your market, because it won't polish a turd. You still got to have a price competitive product or service that's as good as the middle range of what you have available. Ideally, you want something better, but it won't polish a turd, like I said. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.